Feels like it's been a while, but the Blue Jackets are finally playing another game, although based on their last 3 games, maybe we shouldn't be too excited about that. But we're going to talk all about the Colorado Avalanche, what the Blue Jackets have to do to get back in the win column, and how this game might go. That's all coming up today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to bring you news, stories, some good, some bad. We try and bring some fun to your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and also over on YouTube. So if you haven't hit subscribe over there, then we are like 5 subscribers away from the next milestone, which is super exciting. So feel free to like and subscribe over there. Helps me out, helps you out. Everybody wins. The Blue Jackets have been out of action for a couple of days. They've been enjoying Helsinki. They've gone on to Tampere, and today they are playing their first of the Global Series back-to-back games against the Colorado Avalanche. They haven't faced the Avalanche in almost a calendar year, so I thought we should probably check in on them. The Avalanche have, they went and won a Stanley Cup last season, so we should probably take a look at how they're doing, and so that's going to be today's episode. This is the second year in a row that the Blue Jackets, I feel like, have faced the Avalanche basically back to back. So last season, I think they faced them on a Wednesday and then again on a Saturday and didn't play in between. So it was like they had 2 games against the Avs and then in the start of November, and then they were done for the year. And they're doing it again. Start of November, they've got 2 games against the Avalanche today and tomorrow, and then they're done for the year. So I'm not mad about getting the Stanley Cup champions out of the way early, especially since it seems they're still kind of working through their cup hangover. They're not as rough as I thought they were, but they are currently 4-4-1, which is maybe a little worrying. And at first I was like, man, what's going on? And then it looks like it might just be a case of the backup goalie is not doing great. We're going to talk about goaltending in a minute, but the Avalanche, like I said, they won the Stanley Cup. They're a really good team. This is going to be a really tough test for the Blue Jackets because, they got curb stomped by the Coyotes, they lost to Boston, and then they got embarrassed out of the building by the Devils. So it seems like it's going from bad to worse in terms of facing teams, and now they've got to face the Avalanche, who are looking to get their season on track, which is not great for the Blue Jackets. Like I said, they're trying to find their footing, and it's a shame that they are doing it against another team that's trying to find their footing, and that's a team that includes guys like Nate MacKinnon or Cale, Makar, or they've got just a ton of guys. Valeri Nichushkin got 7 goals in 9 games, or 7 goals in 7 games, excuse me. He's got 12 points. He's tied for the team lead. Nate MacKinnon has 12 points as well, which is more expected. They lost Nazem Kadri. They lost, I think that might be their biggest loss. They lost their goaltending. They picked up Alexander Georgiev from New York, who's been phenomenal. But for the most part, this is the same team that they were last year, so I'm not expecting massive swings, but the fact that they've started off as 4-4-1 did surprise me a little, I think. In terms of their play, they have been fine. I feel like they're not scoring a ton, though. Looking through, they've scored 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 15, 16, 20, 24. They've only scored 28 goals in 9 games so far, which is, math is difficult. I feel like that's, 7 goals? 3 goals a game, give or take. Like I said, math is extremely not my strong suit. So, for a team like the Avalanche that has a Nate MacKinnon, that has Valeri Nichushkin, that has Mikko Rantanen, Gabriel Landeskog is out hurt at the minute, so that's not helping. But, guys like Cale, Makar, Bowen Byram is really kind of coming into his own. I would have thought that they would be scoring more goals. Cale Makar has yet to score, which probably means he's going to score today because the Blue Jackets love to let people score their first goals of the season on them. He does have 8 assists, though, which is, not too shabby, I guess. In terms of guys to watch, like I said, Nate MacKinnon has 4 points in his last 5 games. Evan Rodriguez has 4 goals in his last 5 games, which it surprised me because I didn't even know he was on the team, frankly. Cale Makar leading the way with 3 assists in his last 5 games. So, the usual suspects plus a couple of other guys. Like I said, I was really surprised to see Valeri Nichushkin was doing as well as he was, but I do think that he's probably jumped up on that top line to replace Landeskog. And a MacKinnon, Nichushkin, Rantanen line is not the least terrifying thing I've ever heard of. But in a minute, we're going to talk a little bit more about the team as a whole, how their special teams are doing, check in on face-offs, things like that. That's coming up in just a minute. But first, I've got to tell you all about BetOnline. It is your number one source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. You can find player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. Fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, golf. The World Series is happening at the minute. You could put some money on the Phillies turning it around and winning, or you could put some money on the Blue Jackets finally winning a game against a playoff opponent. They might win tonight. It seems unlikely, but they could do it. So you can do all of that at betonline.net. You can head to the website today, use your laptop or your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. So let's talk the kind of a little bit more general about the Avalanche, because they are frankly terrifying on the power play, which makes sense, a power play that comprises of MacKinnon, Makar, Rantanen, Nichushkin, and probably maybe even Bowen Byram, frankly. Like, that's a pretty terrifying top power play unit. They are first in the league at almost 40%. They're at 39.3%. The Blue Jackets have yet to score an official power play goal. Will that happen today? Who knows? The weird thing is the penalty kill for the Avalanche has been struggling mightily. It's 69.7%, 30th in the league. By comparison, the Blue Jackets are still sitting at 12th. I will take the Blue Jackets being in the top half of the league on the penalty kill. Hopefully the power play can turn it around sooner rather than later. Patrick Laine, you're our only hope, But apart from that, the Avs are pretty much beating the Blue Jackets in every other category, except face-off percentage. The Blue Jackets are sitting 19th in the league. They've dipped below 50%, which is not great. They've had a couple of rough games. They're sitting at 49.2, 19th in the league. The Avalanche apparently just don't want to win face-offs. They don't care. 45.9%, 27th in the league. But like I said, it doesn't really seem to make a difference. They are scoring 3.11 goals per game and only allowing 3.0 goals per game. So they're 15th and 13th in the league, respectively, versus the Blue Jackets, who are 30th in the league in goals for per game at 2.6 and 31st in the league in goals against per game at 4.4 goals a game. Not great. In terms of players to watch for the Blue Jackets, I would look for Patrick Laine to have a big game. I would look for Jack Roslovic to have a pretty decent game. He's got 4 points in his last 5 games. Kent Johnson has got 3 goals in his last 5 games. I'd look for Johnny Gaudreau to get back on the score sheet as well. He's a guy that has kind of been not struggling, but he's been held off the score sheet for the past couple of games. And I'm sure he's itching to get back on it. It's not very often that a guy like Johnny Gaudreau gets held off the score sheet for more than a couple of games at a time. So I'm expecting a big comeback game from him. In other news, it looks like Nick Blankenburg might be making his reappearance in the lineup. I really hope so, because the team needs him. Boone Jenner could be absent. He missed practice yesterday with an illness. Doesn't look like it's COVID related, but he could be out, and I think they're betting that he won't be in the lineup because in terms of the practice lines, I believe they had Sean Corelli up on the third line, in Jenna's spot, and they have Roslovic on the top line in Jenna's spot, and then Sillinger, then Corrali, and then I believe Liam Foodie was centering the fourth line. So to me, that says that the fact that they haven't just plugged, Liam Foodie into Jenna's spot as a placeholder does make me think that maybe he won't be playing in this game today. Obviously, I hope that he is playing. I still, concerned about Roslovic on that top line. I would prefer Jenna was there, but I could only do so much in terms of trying to manifest that. I think Jenna missing will be a big loss for the face-off percentage of the team as well. He's had a really good start to the season. It sounds like Elvis Merzlikins is going to be starting in goal. I imagine Alexander Georgiev will be starting for the Avalanche. Elvis, 2-4 on the season. He's got an 864 save percentage. He can still turn it around, but compared to Georgiev, who was kind of doing the Jack Campbell thing of he's been a backup for a long time and he's now getting his chance to be a starter. He's 4-1-1. He's got a 2.81 goals against average and a 918 save percentage in those 6 games. Pablo Francouz has an 0-3. He's the backup, so I don't expect we'll see him. He's been fine, by the numbers. He's got an 898, so just under a 900, but he's 0-3. So clearly something's going on there, but I imagine we'll probably see Elvis versus Georgiev, and then maybe Francouz versus, I'd like to see Korpisalo get the start tomorrow, frankly, regardless of what happens tonight. They're in Finland. You play your Finnish goalie, I think. He was good against Syracuse when he did his AHL stint very briefly, and I think it'd be good to get it back in a game. And I think this, both goalies are struggling. Why not see what Korpisalo's got at this point? So I would be surprised not to see him play tomorrow, regardless of how today goes. But they could also decide, let's go with, if Elvis wins, let's stick with the hot hand. They could decide to play Tarasov. I really don't know, but I would like to see Korpisalo, honestly. In a minute, we're going to do another prospect check-in. We're going to talk to, we're going to talk about, Denton Mateychuk, who's tearing things up in the WHL at the minute. So that's what's coming up in a minute on Locked on Blue Jackets. But first, I've got to tell you about SimpliSafe, because if you've thought about securing your home with home security, you've been putting it off, you're going to want to listen up, because right now, Locked on Blue Jackets listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is your biggest offer of the year, and you don't want to miss it. SimpliSafe has advanced technology. You can control the system from your phone. They've got a special app for that. They've got crystal clear HD live stream of all your security cameras. You can check in on all of the sensors, or basically anything that SimpliSafe provides. You can control it from the app, which is really cool. They were named the best home security system of 2022 by the US News and World Report for the 3rd year in a row. And in an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect TM technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get a priority police response. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that I recommend. You can get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. Once again, that is simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. So let's check in with Denton Mateychuk. We talked about him a little bit briefly on Wednesday's episode. He's, like I said, he's tearing it up in the WHL at the minute. He's got 10 points in 9 games. He's projected to hit 71 points this season in 64 games, which is just a little bit above what he did last year. But for a defenseman to be a point per game at least is pretty impressive. He was a point per game in the playoffs for them last year. I'm not sure that Moose Jaw is going to be as successful this season as they were last season, but he is going to be a big part of it. He's wearing the C for Moose Jaw this season, which is great. You love to see that kind of leadership. And it looks like he's basically doing exactly what he was doing last year, but on a slightly higher level, which is really great. When I talked to Joel Henderson, who's the friend of the show, he's the WHL scout that I like to talk to. He was concerned that Mateychuk didn't have another level to his game. Yeah, he was tearing it up in the WHL right now, but can he adapt to tougher competition, to more pressure, I guess? And honestly, so far it looks like he's delivering on that. Can he play in the NHL? That kind of remains to be seen. But I think he's doing all of the right things to be a legitimate threat in this league specifically. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe make the Blue Jackets next season, maybe just for 9 games, and then they send him back. But he's going to be a monster this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's way up there in terms of WHL scoring, especially for defensemen. If we just pull up the WHL scoring at the minute, like obviously Connor Bedard is at the top because it's just how it goes. In terms of defensemen, he is. I think there's only 6 or 7 defensemen that are scoring more than him right now, and they've all played more games, I believe. So the defenseman with the most points is Lukas Dragicevic, who's playing for the Tri-City Americans. He's got 17 points in 14 games, which is just about the same point per game percentage, I believe, as Mateychuk. If I just move the move the things around, he's currently playing at a 111, and Driver's just playing at 121, so 0.1%, 0.1 goal point per game better. So he's up there. He just hasn't played as many games as the rest of them. I think he missed the start of the season to finish up training camp with the Blue Jackets, which is understandable. But he's doing really great. I'm really happy with how Mateychuk is progressing. We'll have to check in on him later on in the season to see how he's doing. But I'm expecting, like I said, I'm expecting big things from Mateychuk this season. Just checking in, he's 4th on the team in scoring, behind 3 forwards. So the next defenseman is Cole Jordan on the team, who has 4 fewer points in 2 more games. So I have no complaints about Mateychuk. He looks like, honestly, looking at Jiricek and looking at him, I watched them play together a bunch in the preseason, and at Traverse City. Like, they feel very much like a Seth Jones and a Zach Werenski type pairing. You've got one guy that's a little bit more offensively minded, one guy that's a little bit more defensively minded, but they play well together. Mateychuk's a phenomenal skater, and Jiricek's not afraid to be a pain in the butt and throw his body around. So it's going to be a really fun duo, I think, that I'm super excited for. And hopefully, like I said, Mateychuk keeps his development going, keeps pushing, and I would love to see him in a Blue Jackets sweater this time next year, whether that's literally for the 9 games that he gets before they burn a level his ELC or not. I'm Like I said, I'm just super excited to see where he goes, and that's kind of all I've got for you today. No episode tomorrow because it's Saturday tomorrow. Monday, hopefully, we'll be talking to the guys over at Locked On Avalanche. We'll be doing a full recap of the Global Series, both games, how our teams did, checking in on, hopefully our guys managed to do a little bit better and find at least 1 win out of 2. That's the thing. I would like to win 1 of these games at least. If they can pick up 2 points, like, that's kind of all I'm asking for right now is win 1 game out of 2. If they can do that, then great. But we'll be talking to the guys over at Locked On Avalanche about that. Thank you for listening. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am _Jacob Foster, JAKOB FORSTER. You can find this podcast at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jackets your first listen today. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and also over on YouTube. Please make your second listen of the day Locked On Sports Today. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Locked On Sports Today is available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure you check that out. Thank you again for listening. I super appreciate it. Available basically everywhere. You're never going to have to get behind a paywall for a Locked On product. That's our promise to you. And until Monday, make sure you stay Locked On.